Hello, I'm Henry John Griffin, and yesterday I had a meltdown because my dad was not letting me be repetitive, and so is Grandma Donna. I had a meltdown because Grandma Donna, for some reason, told me that Catherine is fiction, and Grandma Donna also told me that I cannot perseverate. So, if I was still living with my mom, the same thing would happen. So, if I was at my mom's house and I asked her, what is the brain if it processes information millions of times? Well, she could say the brain is a computer sometimes, she could say the brain is a computer sometimes, but not all the time. But that's only when I'm living with her, and I don't live with her. So yes, if I was living with my mom, there is a possibility where she could get very upset with me because even she doesn't like it when I perseverate on the same topic. And the same thing with Grandma Donna. Grandma Donna is not letting me perseverate, and I'm upset about that. And I threw a big tantrum because even my mom is not letting me perseverate, and so is Grandma Donna. And people are just not gonna let me get away with tearing up their house, destroying their house, and breaking their stuff. And Grandma Donna is not gonna let me have her credit card. And I want her credit card because that credit card is what keeps me calm. If Emma Linda was to give me a credit card, I would use it for some video submissions. Only if I'm not talking about hurting Selena, hurting Paradise, or anything. Only if I'm not making threats. Does that make sense? I was living with my mom. I was on Hobart Street, and she started off talking about computers. At the beginning, I started to live with her. She started talking to me about computers. But at the very least, she did started to give up when I was asking her the same question or perseverating. Probably she doesn't want to talk about computers either. And that's also a mad zone for me to get mad over. But Emma Linda, when I was on the phone with her, Emma Linda was talking to me about the metaphors of a computer, or the computer is a metaphor for the human body, or the computer is a metaphor for the human brain. Remember when I was living with her and I used to perseverate on almost all that stuff? You can probably guess the name, or you could probably guess what Big Danny used to talk about. Well, he used to talk to me about the Matrix. Emma Linda was still using metaphors or a myth to say that the body is like a computer because we have energy. But my mom, yeah, it's my mom. My mom was talking to me about the computer of the body, or the brain is like a computer because it processes information and all that stuff. So you're right, she was talking to me about the metaphors of a computer. But Emma Linda could decide that she doesn't want to talk about it. It's because she's grown, and anybody that's grown, you can't force them to talk. I was doing the same to my dad, but I hope I don't do the same thing to her if I go live with her. Because she might yell at me again, and she might say, the human body is not a computer. Take your take your behind to your room and shut the gup. So that's what she would say. She would say, the human brain is not a computer. Take your bleeping self to your room and shut the bleep up. She would say that, but Grandma Donna would say that as well, and this is really uncomparable to her. We're not going to compare families from other families to Emma Linda, but we're going to explain this. I started going to the Kessler right when I was done in classroom 1. I went to classroom 6, and when I was in classroom 6, then came qualification statements. I ask Alex, is the brain a computer? He tells me, you qualify what that means. Qualify your definition. And I said, it computes, it calculates, it processes information. Because you're right on that. The brain and the computer are similar because they both process information. The brain and the computer are alike because they both store information. A computer processes information. A brain processes information. A computer stores information. A brain stores information. A brain has to store in order to remember what we're doing, what we did. But I was I was told humans are not computers, but I was told the brain is not a computer before. Even if I was living with her, I was told that, and then it took place in the Gates Hotel. Now I could remember something bad, like I punched Big Danny in the Gates Hotel. I could be remembering something negative, and that would be like a virus in the computer. Let's say in a metaphor, it's like a virus. If you remember something bad, you're downloading something bad. A program that contains a virus, something that which a computer can get a virus. So, however, the computer of the brain both qualifies as just computation. The computation of the brain is expired to use computer metaphors. What did Emmanuel say when I went to the Kessler? Even though Andrea was around. When Andrea was around, Emmanuel did say a computer is a metaphor for the brain. It is. A computer is a metaphor for the brain. We can store things. We can process information. A computer is you ever heard of a video? A computer is a bicycle for the mind. A computer is a metaphor for the brain. Because the brain processes the information. So, a metaphor is comparing the brain to a computer without using like or as. A simile is comparing the brain to a computer with the two words like or as. Stephanie, well, now at school they used to use like or as, but now Stephanie uses qualifications. And qualifications are probably the same as metaphors, because you can qualify stuff. And I got the word qualify from Alex. That's why I'm having a breakdown about the brain being like a computer. It's an organic computer. But it's also more powerful than a computer. The brain is like a computer, but it's more complex. That's all I gotta figure out. However, or the brain is all things. But when people say the brain is not a computer, I get away from that. I took that Catherine is fiction and I erased it from my mental computer so that I don't have to process that anymore, because it's gone. I did a wipe on my mental computer and now it still seems to be running pretty fast. I erased all of the negative setup answers that are upsetting me, all of the negative truth behind Catherine, the computer, Catherine Johnson. I erased it. That's what I did. I went in my mental computer system and I took it down. I didn't like that statement. And I deleted the statement where my dad said, I can't talk to my mom because even Emmelinda is gonna cry if she has to go to prison and if she has to go to jail and do her time. She doesn't like punishment either. Like, I don't like it when my mom goes to jail or she has to do her punishment. That will be so sad for me, because I would want to go to my mom's house. I would want to go see Nolani and Juju, see little Danny, and probably even meet the new baby, if I can be safe. And uninstall that file that my dad programmed on my mental computer before it starts to detect these KP pop-ups. What does KP stand for? I'm not going to tell you what it stands for, but it's a virus of the mind. I'm going to uninstall that file. I'm going to corrupt that file. Matter of fact, there's no reason to corrupt that file. Well, you know, when I talked about disconnecting the internet to avoid getting a virus, that's what I did. When you shut down the computer, you disconnect the internet. Also, when you shut down the computer, then you shut down its modem. But usually the modem stays on. But you turn the Wi-Fi off when you shut down the computer. But if my dad gives me a statement saying that I cannot call my mom, then I should disconnect the internet, turn the internet off, unplug the router so that none of that negative stuff goes in my mind. Because that's what that negative stuff comes on. I'd be like, one day, what do I mean when I say disconnect the internet? I mean disconnect